Um, there is something unfinished, not between you in the complicated, unresolved, still actively affecting your life way of something that was never properly addressed, unfinished in a different sense. In the specific, particular, lives in one person's interior quality of something that was felt and never said, that was known and never named, that existed and may still exist in the private landscape of someone who was once a significant part of your life and who has been carrying something in that private landscape that was always intended to be said and that never found its moment. The moment is approaching, not because the timing is suddenly perfect, because the not saying has become more costly than the saying. I want to begin with the past piece because past is a specific word and it carries information about who this person is and what the nature of the thing they need to tell you is. They are from a chapter that has ended, not ended badly necessarily, not in the specific painful quality of something that closed through conflict or damage or any of the more dramatic forms of a chapter's conclusion. Perhaps simply in the way that chapters end, through the natural, sometimes gradual, sometimes abrupt quality of two people's lives moving in different directions or different timelines, or simply through the particular organic quality of something that was what it was and then became the past. The chapter is closed. But something in the chapter was not fully completed when it closed. The specific, particular piece of it that belongs to them, that they were carrying when the chapter ended, that has been in their interior through whatever has followed, through the new chapters that have opened since, through the specific ongoing life continues quality of time that has passed since you were the primary person in their daily experience. It has traveled with them through all of it, still waiting for the form in which it can be offered. Let me describe what they need to tell you, because needs is the word the title uses, and need is different from want in a way that deserves examination. Need means it cannot be indefinitely deferred. When someone wants to say something, the wanting is a preference. It is organized around desire and around the specific conditions that would make the saying feel right and around the hope that those conditions arrive. Wants can live in the waiting space indefinitely, can remain unrealized without the unrealizing becoming its own problem. When someone needs to say something, the not saying has become something more than the absence of the desired action. It has become its own weight, its own continuous, daily, cannot quite shake presence, its own form of cost that accumulates with each period of continued silence. This person has arrived at the need. Whatever they have been carrying has crossed from the territory of wanting to say to the territory of needing to say, has been building the specific, no longer comfortable to carry pressure of something that has been in private containment for too long, that has outgrown the container, that is pressing, not urgently, but consistently and with increasing insistence toward expression. They need to tell you, not for any strategic reason, not to produce a particular outcome, simply because the carrying of it has become something they can no longer do indefinitely. M. Let me describe the specific quality of what they are carrying. It is not what you might expect. The past person carrying something tends to produce in the imagination the specific, obvious forms, the apology, the declaration, the things that are most commonly the objects of unrealized expression between people who were once connected, and some of what they carry may exist in those forms. But the specific quality of what is most present, most pressing, most needing to be said is something more precise than those general categories. It is acknowledgement. The specific, particular, I need you to know that I understood what you were quality of someone who has been in the time since the chapter ended, arriving at a clearer and clearer understanding of what the time with you actually was, of what you brought to it, of the specific, real, genuinely significant quality of what you contributed to their life in ways that they may not have fully acknowledged in the moment of the contributing. They understood more afterward, when the presence of what you provided was gone and the absence of it began to reveal what the presence had been. When the comparison became available between the with you version of their experience and the without you version, when the specific, daily, unremarked upon quality of what you were in their life became visible through its absence, in the way that significant things always become most visible when they are no longer there. The acknowledgement is of that understanding. The I want you to know what I came to understand quality of someone who has done the slow, honest work of seeing what was there more clearly than they saw it at the time. The acknowledgement is of that understanding. The I want you to know what I came to understand quality of someone who has done the slow, honest work of seeing what was there more clearly than they saw it at the time. I want to give the acknowledgement one more specific dimension because I think it is the piece that will produce the deepest response in you when it arrives. They want to acknowledge that you are right. Not about a specific argument or a specific disagreement necessarily, about something more fundamental, about the quality of what you are offering, about the specific, sometimes invisible quality of what you bring to the people you bring it to, about the way you were showing up in that chapter in ways that they did not always recognize or name or honor in the moment of your showing up. They understood it afterward. In the specific, retroactive quality of comprehension that comes when you can no longer take something for granted because you no longer have it. When the daily, unremarked upon quality of someone's presence in your life becomes visible through its absence. When you find yourself in situations that call for what that person provided and understanding with uncomfortable precision that what they provided was not as replaceable as proximity to it made it seem. That precision is what they are carrying. And what they want to offer you is the specific, honest, finally naming it quality of someone who arrived at an accurate assessment and who wants you to have the benefit of knowing that the accurate assessment exists. You were worth more than the chapter reflected. That is the thing they need to tell you. I want to speak to why they have not said it yet, because the need has been building for a period of time, and the question of what has been holding the expression back is a legitimate and important one. Several things. The first is the simple structural reality of time having passed. The chapter being in the past means the ordinary mechanisms of ongoing communication are no longer active. There is no natural daily life context in which the saying can happen casually. The saying requires the specific intentional quality of someone who decides to reach across the gap of the past and create a contact that the present has not been maintaining. That requires more of an initiation than ongoing communication does. The second is uncertainty about reception, the specific, reasonable, what does this produce in them quality of someone who does not know how what they want to say will land. Whether you are in a space where you want to hear from them, whether the chapter being in the past means that contact from the past is welcome or disruptive, whether what they want to offer will be received as the genuine, significant thing it is, or as something that creates complications in a life that has moved forward. The uncertainty has been a barrier. The third is the difficulty of form. What they want to say has a particular quality that is not easily carried by the casual forms of communication. That requires more than a brief message, but that does not map cleanly onto the more formal or structured alternatives. That is, looking for the right shape, the shape that matches the significance of the content without being so significant in its presentation that it creates alarm or expectation or anything that is more than the honest, sincere offering of what has been understood. The shape has been elusive, but it is becoming clearer. The shape has been elusive, but it is becoming clearer. I want to describe what the becoming clearer looks like in practice, because it is not a single moment of decision, but a gradual process that has been underway. There have been drafts, not literal drafts necessarily, the specific mental quality of someone who has been composing something and reconsidering, who has written the opening in their head and found it insufficient and set it aside and returned to it from a different angle, who has tried the direct approach and found it too exposed, and tried the casual approach and found it too small for what it is, carrying, who has been in the specific circling quality of someone who knows what they want to say but has not yet found the form that fits the weight of it. Each draft attempt has taught something about what the thing they want to say actually is, about what matters most in the saying, about what the essential piece is that needs to arrive regardless of how everything else is phrased, about what can be imperfect in the expression as long as the core is intact. The core has become clear, the form is still being refined. But the core being clear is the more important of the two. And the form, once the core is established, tends to find itself. It is finding itself now, which is why the saying is approaching. Tell me in the comments if you sense this. If there is a specific past person whose name or whose presence arrives in your awareness in a quality that suggests something unresolved, something that has a specific pointed quality rather than the diffuse quality of someone simply sometimes being in your thoughts. Whether this reading is landing somewhere you recognize, I want to know. I want to speak to what happens when they finally say the thing they need to say, because the saying is coming and the quality of what it produces deserves some preparation. It will produce a reread of the chapter. The specific retrospective quality of receiving information that reorganizes how a portion of your history is understood. When someone who was there at a particular time offers a perspective on that time that you did not have access to while you were in it, the time itself looks slightly different, not changed, differently illuminated, with angles and dimensions that were not visible before the illumination was provided. The chapter you shared with this person will look slightly different after you receive what they need to tell you. Not worse, more complete. The specific, satisfying quality of a picture becoming fuller than it was, of gaps that you may have been carrying, questions about what was happening on their side that you never had answered. Receiving something in the way of an answer that may not be perfect, but that is considerably more than the nothing that the silence has been providing. The reread is one of the gifts of the saying. I want to speak to something about you specifically because the reading has been primarily about them and their interior and what they are carrying and what they need to say. But this reading is about you, and you have been carrying something too. Not necessarily the same thing, not necessarily in the same quality or the same form, but the specific past person quality of someone who has been in your history in a significant way tends to leave something that continues, not forever and not without diminishing, but in the specific residual, occasionally surfaces quality of something that has been part of your story and that has not been fully complete. What they need to tell you is going to address something that has been waiting on your side, a question, an uncertainty, the specific, slightly open quality of a chapter that felt like it ended before something was fully resolved, that left you with the particular human quality of having moved forward from something that was not entirely finished. The finishing is coming, not from you, from them, arriving in the form of the thing they need to tell you. And the finishing, when it arrives, is going to produce something in you that the open quality of the not finished has been quietly preventing. A specific kind of peace. A specific kind of peace. I want to describe that piece more specifically because I think naming it will help you understand why this reading matters for where you are right now. The peace that comes from a chapter being completed is not the dramatic, everything resolved peace of a life with no loose ends. That peace does not exist. Human experience is continuous, and the chapters of it are always overlapping in ways that prevent the perfect, self contained closure that the word closure sometimes implies. The peace that is coming is quieter than that. It is the specific, internal, now I can set this down quality of someone who has been carrying something that was not entirely resolved and who receives, through the arrival of what this person needs to say, enough of what was missing to make the carrying no longer necessary. Not the perfect answer, enough of an answer. And enough is genuinely sufficient, is in the real territory of human experience often all that is available. And when enough arrives in a form that is honest and offered with the genuine intention of the person offering it, it produces something real. The setting down of what you have been carrying about this chapter, without drama, without ceremony, simply the specific, quiet, now that is more complete quality of a chapter receiving the piece it was missing. Let me describe what receiving this is going to be like, because I want to give you the interior quality of the experience rather than simply the information about it. It is going to feel like closure, not in the dramatic sense of that word, not the kind of closure that requires a dramatic moment or a formal ceremony or any of the specific externally organized things that people sometimes feel they need to have before they can put something properly behind them. The quiet kind, the specific, internal, simply true now quality of having received something that fills in a gap that has been quietly present, of something that was slightly open, being without drama, closed, of the specific question that your experience of this chapter left unanswered, receiving finally something that approaches an answer. The approach to the answer is not perfect closure in the sense of everything being resolved. It is the specific human, this is as close as things get quality of real life closure, where the open thing becomes less open, where the gap becomes less gap, where the chapter becomes more complete than it was before, not fully complete because no chapter ever is, but more complete in a way that matters. That mattering is the gift. I want to close with something about the nature of what this person represents for this reading. They are not the main character. The past person who needs to tell you something is not the central figure of your current life or your current story. They are the figure from a prior chapter who is stepping briefly back into the frame to complete something they left incomplete when the chapter ended. That stepping back is significant, not because it reopens the chapter, because it completes it. And completed chapters are different from uncompleted ones in the specific, ongoing, everyday life quality of what they require from you. An uncompleted chapter requires something, some portion of your interior's resource, some allocation of attention to the question of what it meant and what it was and what was left unfinished, some quality of ongoing low level engagement with something that has not been properly concluded. A completed chapter releases that allocation, returns it to you for your current life, for whatever comes next. And what this person needs to tell you is the completion, the returning of what the open quality of this chapter has been quietly holding. Receive it when it arrives. All of it. Let the chapter be complete, and let the completion return to you what was being held in the incompletion. That is the gift arriving with this person's words. And the words are coming. I want to add one final thing before we close completely. When the words arrive, you are allowed to simply receive them, not to immediately process what they mean for your current life or your current direction or any of the forward looking questions that significant communications tend to trigger, not to immediately determine what the saying of this thing means about this person's feelings now versus then, not to immediately figure out what you are supposed to do with what is offered, simply to receive. The receiving is the response, at least in the first moment of it. The words have been carried for a long time. They deserve to be received at full size, in the specific, unhurried, this is significant quality of something that is being offered from a place of genuine reckoning. Take the time to receive it fully before you decide anything about what to do with it. The doing can wait. The receiving cannot. And the receiving, done with the quality of attention it deserves, is one of the gifts you can offer in return for the courage it took to finally say the thing. Let it land, all of it,